I don't see failure, or I don't usually regret processes, no matter the things that happen.
Yeah.
I rather see it as a challenge to overcome. Sitting down and worrying myself, get sad for a moment, but the next
Yeah.
day, dust yourself, pick up
Yeah.
yourself, move
Yeah.
on to sit down and wait for things to happen.
Yeah.
But you need to move, even if things turn south,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see it as a challenge, and then you move on to make it to overcome that challenge, and it gets better,
Yeah.
right?
So the mind power to be able to move on, or is it that some issues are more difficult than others, so it's difficult to move past it? Why do you think are some of the reasons why some people would rather sit in their pain?
This is a question I should be asking. But and move on to see the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the two things I'll say I've seen on that regard. Right at that door closing,
Exactly.
but until you close that door of what is not working, it's difficult for you to see the picture of that opportunity at the end of that door. Right. So sometimes we
saying no, you may probably be able to adjust, because they may have wisdom in what they are saying. They may have very valid and genuine reasons. When people are telling you no, it doesn't always mean it's because they...
Welcome to 2025. So we're in 2025, and I believe you've made some resolutions. You're looking at everything going positively well, but life happens, hey, and you don't know what will happen. But today I have a friend here. We're going to look at, if things go south and they don't follow the plan as you have made it, how do we navigate? How do we find alternative routes to ensure that we are gaining that we are gaining that success, and obviously reaching our goal as we want to reach? So I'm here with my friend. He's a doctor by profession, and welcome, Mr. Yao Baswa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So today we just want to have a discussion on planning, and as well as look at how, if things go south, how we can maneuver our ways to ensure that we are not only falling short or wallowing in defeat, but we find a way to get positive and then get better in our lives and find ways, alternative routes to it. So yeah, I don't know if you want to tell the audience something about yourself.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me. I'll say this is a very nice experience to have to talk to you about planning. I'm a medical doctor by profession, like you've mentioned. I'm also involved in a lot of community building and helping people to build themselves up. So in brief, that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I've been doing.
Nice. So we can see Yao has a lot of experience in planning, right? And before we even go into the part where life happens and things turn south, can you share with us any, for example, for you in particular, the year is now starting. I believe you have made some plans for yourself. What are some of the processes that you, for example, will go through to see that, okay, in terms of your planning, what are the processes you will go through for your planning?
I think it's a very important topic that we are discussing today, and I actually believe that in as much as we tend to plan, we should always expect that things will not go the way we expect it to. If that is a natural occurrence of planning. If things should go according to plan all the time, life would be very boring, I think. So you should expect that things wouldn't go according to how we expect them to go. Yes, I've made plans year in, year out. I'm one of those who would want to sit down, have a brief overview of how I think I want my year to go, and then work towards trying to achieve those things. So I've made such plans.
Yeah. What processes are you one of those that will take a pen and paper and go into a solitary place to sit down and start jotting step by step details what you want to do, or you just write? There are some of us that we just write overviews. Of course, you never know the process, but I mean, you have an idea of the process. What do you do? Would you jot down the specific details of the plan, or you look at it in terms of, this is where I want to get to, but in terms of the process, you kind of have an idea to it.
Okay, so personally, I do not have a very strict pen to paper process. My planning starts from even before, let's say if it's for the year, starts from even before the year is about to end. So it's more of an ongoing thinking through the process, thinking through what I would want to achieve over a certain period of time. And so by the time I'm getting to the year, I have a brief overview of what I want to do. I've thought through the processes, and then as the year is going on, I put in place certain measures. So as you know, there are different forms of planning. They will talk about the long-term planning, which can span over a very long period of time, and then you would have the operational or the chunky planning, so short-term goals and things that you want to achieve. So for myself, as a medical doctor, my long-term plan can be that I want to specialize in one field or the other. My short-term plan would be the skills that I have to develop in order to achieve the aim of becoming that specialist that I want to. So like I mentioned earlier, I would have that long term goal of, let's say, I'm just going to use a normal specialty. Let's say if I want to be a family medicine specialist, that would be at the back of my mind. I would want to think about, meditate, find out what I can do to achieve those ones. And I'm more consistent on the short term goals. So the little things that I can do day in, day out, week by week, in order to achieve that. Having at the back of my mind that my specialization, whatever it is that I want to specialize in, is what I'm working towards.
Nice, 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 nice. I think I've had similar experiences too. I
Yeah.
mean, life we all go through it. You make specific plans and then you work towards it. Because for me, for example,
Mm-hmm.
my trajectory or in terms of career
Yeah.
has been has been changing according to the time and seasons, right?
Yeah.
And depending on at every point in time, I find myself doing different things.
Yeah.
But I believe that for medical doctors, for example, since you set yourself on that journey, though at the end you find ways you need to go into specialization,
Mm-hmm.
but throughout the process you all go through a similar kind of training,
Yeah.
and it takes, I believe it takes rigorous planning
Yeah.
with especially time management if
Yeah.
you're a family man, family and
Yeah.
all those kind of things.
Yeah.
How do you fit all these to ensure that as a medical doctor you are still keeping on time, or you're still keeping to ensure that your plan is still in force?
Again, that's good. Because I most of the time, I think the issue with planning is we can be lost in one area of our lives. And as humans as we are not just what our profession is or just what our family is, or we encompass a lot of things: family, work, our community, and we need to factor all those things in order to achieve um our goals in totality. How do I, or how am I able to achieve all these things? Well, I want to say first of all a good support system, um, because in as much as you would want to work towards a goal, if you don't have the people around you supporting your goal, it's quite difficult to achieve those goals. And then again, you need to be able to cater to all of it. So you must look at your life in totality. Like I said, it's not just about your work. So in as much as you are thinking about your work, you must also be thinking about your family. You must also be thinking about your finances, and then you envision how you see all of them meshing up together. Because if you leave any of these things out, what you'd realize is, in as much as you're able to achieve one thing, you wouldn't feel happy within yourselves because you would have seen that you've neglected it.
Yeah.
But I'm also interested to know your profession. Are there any ways that
Yeah,
you
as I
put in
said,
place?
my trajectory has quite been different. In fact, from education, where there are times I wanted to be a medical doctor, even in secondary school when we were going to university
Yeah,
to do medicine. But the
yeah,
only thing that changed my mind was the fact that I don't like blood. I
Yeah,
don't like blood, and
yeah,
dealing with all manner of things,
yeah,
Charlie. That's tough. You guys are doing
yeah,
a great job. So because of that, I moved and wanted to do pharmacy, but
yeah,
life happens, which we'll
yeah,
be delving into. Life happened,
yeah,
so I didn't do pharmacy and went to do actuarial science.
yeah,
Actuarial science is more like finance, business, IT, all things combined,
yeah, yeah,
right? So that led me into banking, then moved from there. Things changed. I fell in love with Rex, went to Rex. So mine has been quite a lot. Then from Rex management, I now came into business analysis,
yeah,
which is more of IT focus and all things.
yeah,
So just as you said, that is me moving from one side to different because of life experiences
yeah,
and
yeah,
because of things that I find myself in. Things
yeah,
keep changing
yeah, yeah,
across board. So I'm not so. The goal is that we need to be successful.
yeah,
We need to make it
yeah, yeah,
and do
making,
what we
yeah,
get to where we want to get to, and
yeah,
ensure that we are able to provide for people and as well as for the community.
mm-hmm.
That is where we want to now delve into and talk about the fact that life happens, right? So just like I said, for me, for example, it's not been a straightforward journey.
Yeah,
Life happens, things will happen. No matter how fixed you set the plan to be, things can happen and cause changes.
yeah.
But I've said something about that for and we can delve about. Have you had any experience like that? That you had a plan in mind, but you realize that at the end of the day, life happened, something happened, and the trajectory of it had to change.
Yes. So, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, usually for me personally, if I'm planning, uh, I try to make room for the what ifs. So, in a way, I even try to start from there, thinking about if things don't go the way I see it or the way I want it to, what is my plan B and what is my plan C, and then I'll move on from there. So an example, I mean, that I can give is in medical school. Usually, if you train in one particular, I mean, where I train, if you train in one particular school, you are more than likely going to go to the hospital that the school is affiliated with, and so that is the normal trajectory. And before I even go on, I'd want to raise this. So, like you mentioned, medicine is a very structured path in the sense that you go to school for 6 years, you do your fellowship, foundational years or your housemanship. After that, then you can start thinking of specialization, and then you become an attending or a consultant or a fellow, depending on which area you are in, and then you start working as a consultant. So it's very structured like that. And for me, it sometimes feel as if is you are just following along a particular path, and you may not be able to think outside the box because the path has been laid down for you. I'm going to say that I was blessed in the sense that I did not have to follow the line, because after medical school, instead of going to the hospital that my school is affiliated with for my first year house job, I had to go to another hospital. And by going to that other hospital, I was able to see things that they were doing that I was not exposed to in my school and in my hospital. And so that is when I even heard that people could write exams to practice in other countries right after medical school. It was news to me, but it was a big thing there. And back in my school slash hospital, I mean, the hospital that the school is affiliated with, we weren't hearing things like that. So it was a blessing in disguise.
Did you find it disappointing and felt like, oh, I wanted to do my, or you wanted to do it somewhere else and you got somewhere else?
Um, so again, very good question. The way I saw it was more of a challenge that needed to be overcome. Usually, when I'm exposed to new things or things that I have not envisioned in my mind, the way I approach it is that it's a challenge that needs to be overcome. So I was more excited about it, excited about the prospect. And if you are planning your life, that's how you should see it. Again, when things are not going how you expect them to, I mean, sometimes we may be disappointed. Sometimes we may feel like the world is going down, and yeah, life is all gloomy. But I believe instead of seeing it that way, you should see it more as a challenge that needs to be overcome. New ways of doing things, and trust the process, like people used to say.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was my mindset, just trusting
The
the
process.
process
Yeah,
and
yeah,
making lessons out of it.
yeah. I think I share in that. So trust the process, see it as a challenge. I always say that everything that happens in my life, for example, I don't see failure, or I don't usually regret processes, no matter the things that happen.
Yeah,
I rather see it as a challenge to overcome,
yeah,
right? So, for example, if you're going to write an examination, it doesn't matter if you have learned the examination or not. You have learned for it or you have prepared for it. The moment you know that you're going to write an examination, it's a challenge ahead of you,
yeah,
and what you need to do is to prepare yourself to surmount
yeah,
that
yeah,
to
yeah,
overcome
yeah,
that challenge,
exactly.
right? So if you see a lot of things or things that happen to you as challenges, that
Mm-hmm.
you will always find a way to overcome it.
Yeah,
For example, for myself, I remember when I completed uni, my first degree, and I wanted to do a master's. I mean, I was not so much in love with doing a master's in another country,
yeah,
because I was actually not wishing to do masters at that time, but life happens. Life happens, and my dad was calling for, I think it's the right time to do it. So I happened to apply for a scholarship opportunity,
yeah.
and fortunately or unfortunately, I was put on the reserve list for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the I got the response that, oh, you've been put on reserve list, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you get sad because it's
Yeah,
a good opportunity.
yeah,
They're paying for your fees, they're
yeah,
giving you stipend, they're paying
yeah,
your airplane ticket and
yeah,
everything. So I don't need to pay a
yeah,
dime for that. So all those was going to be covered.
yeah,
Now, if you're on reserve, you're praying that you should be moved up
yeah.
so you get the opportunity, but also things can happen and
Mm-hmm.
you might not be given the opportunity.
Yeah,
So what do? You get sad for a moment,
yeah, you
but for
do.
me, I mean, I get sad for a day, and I always feel like, just as you said, there, instead of what sitting down and worrying myself, get sad for a moment, but the next
Yeah,
day, dust yourself, pick up yourself,
yeah,
move
yeah,
on to the next opportunity.
yeah.
I started got put in application to a local university to do my
Mm-hmm.
masters. I got that
Mm-hmm.
offer. Though I paid a certain amount,
Yeah,
it was after a month. Then I got
yeah.
the email telling me that they picked me, giving me the full offer.
Look at
I
that.
mean, so
Look at
you exactly
that.
right. So you cannot just sit down and wait for things to happen,
Yeah,
but you need to move, even if things turn south,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you see it as a challenge, and then you move on to make it to overcome that challenge,
But
and it gets better,
yeah.
right?
So my question is it that some people, because I mean, everybody is different. So is it that some people, is it an issue of people do not have the mind power to be able to move on, or is it that some issues are more difficult than others, so it's difficult to move past it? Why do you think are some of the reasons why some people would rather sit in their pain or losses or disappointments and wallow in it?
Yeah, this is a question I should be asking the doctor. But for me, in terms of, I mean, everybody has a way they handle issues, right?
Yeah,
And based on life experiences
yeah,
or how people have come to experience life, what I think is that people usually have the feeling that um I did this, it didn't work. I did this, it didn't work. I did this, it didn't work. It looks like nothing works for me.
yeah,
So people find it difficult to move on from one point to the other.
yeah,
And also sometimes from what how some of us were trained, it's difficult to let things go and
yeah,
move on to see the next opportunity.
yeah,
Right. So that's the two things I'll say I've seen on that regard. Two things I'll say I've seen on that regards in terms of looking at life differently and taking the next step even when it doesn't go as you plan. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've
Yeah, yeah,
seen,
yeah, yeah,
you've
yeah,
had
yeah,
other
yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm very much into community building. So, um, for one of the communities that I'm a part of, we had this project of trying to build a strong, so it's a welfare thing, trying to build a very strong welfare and also put our finances in order. So, we wanted to make it very structured. It was very informal. Um, dues or collections will be made as and when needed, and then it will have to be in somebody's account. And at that time, people were moving, changing their lives, all of that. So the vision was that it will make it a bit more structured, and then like accountability, everything would be on the up and up. So we were working on that. Unfortunately, we were not able to achieve what we were hoping that we would achieve. But something good came out of it. Sometimes things may not be going the way that you expect it to go, but it doesn't mean that it's a total loss. It depends on what you are looking at. So again, your perspective on life needs to be set right. You may decide that you want to do or move from point A to point B. You would realize that you didn't get to point B, but maybe through the processes that you went to, you're able to go to point C. And so your mindset or perspective must be okay. So as I'm in point C, what can I do with point C? You know, that sometimes it helps us to be able to deal with what we would have otherwise called losses.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely a loss. You may have gained something out of it without realizing that
Yeah,
you actually
yeah,
did.
and yeah, I just wanted to, just as you mentioned, I just wanted to talk about um that situation, right? So if you recall, I think some of us grew in Ghana, and if you recall, you see that in Ghana, for example, when you are the examination we write, just like the A levels, for example, you write to transition you from college or secondary school
Yeah,
into university.
yeah,
Sometimes you do not get the scores that you're wishing to get
yeah,
to help you do the course that you want to do,
yeah,
right? And because some courses have cutoffs at very high points, so sometimes people ought to do in outside of the world NOVDEC, what we call NOVDEC.
yeah, yeah,
That is, we write
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the exams, and either you get the scores you want or you don't get the scores you want, and you find people writing it for a number of times.
yeah,
In set situations, just using that as a scenario for in similar situations where you want to obtain a skill, or you want to get to a certain level in life, and you find yourself that the process you wanted to take, you are
mm-hmm.
stalling in that process.
Yeah.
what what for you, for example, would you say, what would you do when you find yourself stalling in a process that you are not getting what you need to get to move to the next stage? How would you handle such situation?
I mean, it's quite I don't know whether the better word is depressing, but it's quite difficult when you are going through such processes where it feels like life is not going anywhere for you. So I'm going to bring church in a bit. So last Sunday during church service, what I was thinking about is, you know what, I'm thankful to God for remembrance. And the reason why I say this is most of the time when we feel that we are not going anywhere in life, it's probably because our mind is set on something and we are not realizing anything. Like we are not realizing that we are making any progress towards what our mind is set on. But if we could remember, say, let's say 2024, if you could cast your mind back and think about all the things that you've done, all the things that you've been through, you'd be able to point out some one or two or three things that went well for you. And so when you're able to remember, you'd realize that you're not stalling as much. Um, but obviously, if you've set your mind on something, the aim would be to be able to achieve it. So I would say that if things are not progressing as you would want them to, you probably need to do a deep introspection within yourself. Ask yourself some questions. So, what is it that you are doing to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to achieve? Is it even worth it? Or are there other ways that, or other things that you probably need to work on instead of what you've actually set your mind on? And these are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself. Because it may be that you are going along a certain route that's not helping. If it's not working, you probably need to change it, obviously. But if you don't do that deep introspection, you may not realize it. And sometimes that thing is probably not for you. And so you probably need to change your direction and then look at other things, other little things that you can achieve. And
Yeah,
I believe that would
yeah,
help.
yeah. So do a deep introspection, have a fair idea of what will work for you. If something is not working, the other thing is that aside do a deep introspection is to find alternative routes,
Yeah,
right? Because you never know, if one thing is not working, there might be another opportunity right at that door closing. But
exactly.
until you close that door of what is not working, it's
Exactly.
difficult for you to see the picture of
Exactly.
that opportunity
Yeah.
at the end of that
Yeah.
door,
Yeah.
right? So
Exactly.
sometimes we need to learn to appreciate that something is not working, but we
Yeah.
need to let go.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're letting go, you are not just letting go, but you're opening your eyes to other opportunities,
Yeah. Yeah.
other
Yeah.
alternative
Yeah.
routes that we can
Yeah.
take to get to where we want to get to,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
for example, I know in some institutions or in some countries, for example, even doing, let's take your profession for example,
Mhm.
doing medicine.
Mhm.
I heard of instances where people are able to do medicine even after some number of years,
Yeah.
and the fact that they might not have studied a biological course in uni in their first degree,
Mhm.
they can go and do a crash course,
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
crash if for 4 years or 5 years and do. I don't know if there's something like that. So if, for example, I'm not able to qualify into medicine right after A
Mhm.
levels or
Mhm.
right after WASI
Mhm.
or whichever
Yeah. Yeah.
one that I need to move
Yeah.
into,
Yeah.
it's there should be an alternative route for me to take to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
medicine, for example.
Yeah, so there are quite a number of people who were not able to get into medical school, like you mentioned, right after whether it's secondary school or A level or whatever pre-university level of education you were doing. And like you mentioned, most of them would end up going through a biological science field, and then you'd realize that after that they would then do maybe a graduate entry level kind of medical school. And I need to say that I respect those people so much because what I see in those people is like, I know what I want to do and I'm going to do it no matter what. If you're blessed enough to have that kind of energy and drive, keep at it. Never give up. It's like a killer mindset that you need to continue honing over and over again. So, in as much as we are talking about finding other alternatives, if you feel like this is the only thing that will make you happy, by all means, don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people that will tell you no. Go for it. Achieve your heart's desire and be full. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
some
so if
people do
if you
that.
want to get it, go for it. Whichever, if one route is not working for you to get there, find the alternative
Yeah,
routes that would still lead you to that goal. And maybe going through that alternative route, it's something that will work for you, and you might discover other skills within that time as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
All right. So let's come back to the support system. Not listening to the naysayers, right?
yeah,
Because in terms of building support system, is sometimes even family just closer to you
yeah,
are asking you to give up
yeah,
and not find not give you alternative route, but give up totally and find something to do.
yeah.
But you see, there is perseverance where people persevere and are able to achieve what they want to do. And sometimes there is, in quotes, we call it stubborn perseverance, where you know this thing will not
It's not
work
helping, and you just
and
have to let it
you
go.
just have to let go. But I mean, that aside, building the support system,
Yeah,
how do we maintain the support system? How do you even find people that support the vision to keep you going even when times are tough?
Okay. So at the end of the day, you are definitely right. Sometimes your naysayers will be those very close to you, those sharing the same food with you. And so I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that, in as much as I said don't listen to the naysayers, I don't subscribe to the notion that you should cut away naysayers from your life. They are there for a reason. You actually need to listen to them. Um, but beyond that, what you need to pay attention to the most is why they are saying no. Because I feel by listening to those saying no, you may probably be able to adjust. Because they may have wisdom in what they are saying. They may have very valid and genuine reasons. When people are telling you no, it doesn't always mean it's because they hate you or because they don't necessarily agree with you or they don't want you to be able to be the best version of yourself. It's most of the time, more often than not, it's coming from a good place. They don't want to see you suffer. They don't want you to go through a very hard route or issues of that sort. And so you need to listen to them, talk to them, ask them why they are saying no, find out what their reasons are. Then the work is on you to find out if there's a way they can go around that no issue, that negative, or whatever issue or challenges they are worried about. So if you find that you're able to go around that challenge, then you'll be better refined, better positioned to achieve your goal, and I think it will help you more. So rather than just cut the naysayers away, listen to them.
Yeah,
Don't push them away at all.
yeah. I think they say when the one channeling the path, if you are creating a path, the one channeling that path does not know that the path is crooked behind him. Right?
Exactly.
So there are people that might see more than what you see,
Exactly.
and therefore are pointing you to the fact that they might not just be saying that don't do it, but they want to
Exactly.
point something to you and say that this is not working. Can we change the path? So you need to
Exactly.
find people that can be what's very objective in their
Exactly.
feedback to you. Right?
Exactly.
So find the people, but don't cut off your naysayers.
No, not at
If
all.
people sometimes you can tell that people are just being negative for being negative. Those ones, I mean, can just
There
cut
are
them
those
back
ones
for
too.
the
Yeah.
ones that are genuinely giving you of constructive feedback. Listen
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah.
find what will
Yeah.
work,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes they even have better ideas to help
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
All right, great.
That point is very important. Constructive feedback, and I believe in ourselves. In as much as we are always thinking other people are being naysayers to ourselves, as ourselves too, we should try and be constructive in our criticisms, constructive in our comments to the people around us. I would say that I've been very blessed to have people who've given me constructive criticisms. Like there are the stubborn people. I can sometimes be stubborn in my decisions when I set my eyes on it. The only reason is if I don't move like that, I'll probably not be able to go ahead. So I have to be stubborn and then go along that path. But I've been blessed to have family, friends who've given me constructive criticisms, pointed out the hitches and challenges that I'll face, and I feel it has helped me in some of my very big decisions in life.
Great,
So
great.
yeah.
Yeah. So, family, keep that support system. Get those that will definitely give you some constructive feedback and see how you can work on those to make your journey better to get to that goal that you want to get to this year. It is possible. So keep pressing on. Don't give up on it. If you need to find an alternative route, find that alternative route, but do not give up and keep pushing. About finding constructive feedback, finding alternative routes. Are there any other strategy things that you think people can do if whatever plans that they have put in force for the year is not working? What can they do? Should as we are saying, don't give up. But if it's not working, there are some that, as we said, will not work. If it will not work, it will not work. No matter what you're doing about it, will not work. At that point,
Pivot.
pivot. Exactly. When you say pivot, I don't understand pivot. Can you explain?
So I mean, I think we've highlighted a bit on it. Pivots in the sense that, like I said earlier, ask yourself, what do you really want in life? At the end of the day, what is most important to you? Because it may be that what you're working towards is not actually even important to you in the first place. Um, so ask yourself what really is genuinely important to you, and work towards it. So somebody may say that, oh, okay, I want to go in a particular field. I want to develop this skill. I want to do this or that. But the most important thing to him is that they want to get money. They want to be rich. They want to have whatever amount of money it is that they want to have in their bank over a period of time. So if the ultimate goal is to be rich, then maybe this particular field that you thought is going to give you the money is not something that you should be worried about. There are other ways of getting to that end goal. So by pivoting, you'll be finding, like we mentioned earlier, alternative routes to get to the ultimate goal. So that question of what really is important to you is very, very
Yeah,
important.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I think for me in particular, just I shared my experience or my journey throughout life. I shared it. I shared my journey throughout life. Realized that I've always been through different angles,
Yeah.
and it's because one, you should know where you want to go, just as you're saying, have
Yeah.
the goal in mind, have the final point in mind. But for some of us, we keep discovering ourselves as time goes on.
Very
And as
true.
you keep discovering yourself, you realize that your interests keep changing.
Very true.
Your that is if you are truly conducting that introspective and finding where you want to be and not staying so fixed on one particular thing that no matter what, this is where I want to get to. There are some that this is where you want to get to and you find yourself there. But there are others that we are working towards it and you keep discovering yourself and things keep changing, and based on that you keep pivoting. So for me, for example, I pivoted from pharmacy. Not doing pharmacy doesn't mean that I do not go to
Yeah.
university, but I
Yeah.
do actually. And that, so I sit back and I say doing actuarial science has actually been a blessing
Look
because
at that.
it helps me to do different things
Look at
and not
that.
stay so much in that
Yeah.
structured,
Look at
like for
that.
example
I
doing
tell
medicine
you. I
or
tell
pharmacy,
you.
right? So doing it, so sometimes if you open up yourself to the opportunities, you'll find out that you there are a lot of things that you can do that will not keep you stagnant or will not keep you wallowing because you are not making something work. All
True.
right. So if you need to pivot, find where you need to pivot to and work on it. Keep yourself at it and keep moving, and you will get there. All right. And
Mhm.
as we come, yeah, you want.
I mean, I was going to ask what you think about meditation as regards to planning as well.
I'm not so much. I won't say I'm not a fan of. I mean, I'm medit. I've not really gone into meditation, but there are times that obviously you find yourself alone and you're so focused on thinking about one particular thing. I don't know if that's what they call meditation anyway, but yeah,
I
there are
mean,
times that you're driving also and you find yourself deep in thoughts, thinking about quite a number of things. I don't know if that's what they call meditation.
it's the reason why I asked because I realized that at a point, in fact, for most of my big decisions, I mean my very young life, for most of the big decisions in that I've had to take, there have been moments where I would wake up and then at one point during the day, I would just end up thinking about where I want to go,
What next?
or yeah, what next for that, yeah, what next in my life journey. And I realized I'll be doing it for like 30 minutes. At that time, I didn't think it was meditation, but then I'll keep pacing up and down, just holding that thought in my mind. And then I'll be pacing up and down for a very long period of time. And I realized that after doing it over a period of time, I end up getting new ideas, new thoughts about it. So then my question was, is it meditation that I was doing? Because like you said, I'm not. If you had asked me some time ago if I ever do meditation, even if you had asked me 2 days ago if I do meditation, I'll probably say no. But after thinking about it and thinking about how I move in taking those decisions. I was like, maybe meditation. That's how I was doing, and I feel that in those moments it helped to give me a clearer idea of which path to
Yeah.
go. So that's why I was asking
Yeah.
what your view on meditation is, or if you
Hey,
have any.
if you know what meditation is, let us know in the comments. Maybe you can educate us more on meditation. All
Definitely,
right. Yeah.
definitely.
So, do you have any final words on people if life happens, what people should do?
I mean, again, if life happens to you, keep lifing. Don't throw yourself down. Don't give up. Don't think it's all done. Continue to have hope. Continue to have faith. You're probably 99.9% being redirected to a better alternate role. And so grab it by its horns, go with full speed, vigor, and energy. Think of it as a new challenge that you have to achieve or conquer, and everything will work out fine.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so life happens, but when life happens, do not give up. Find out alternative route. Build a support system, right? And then definitely do not chase the naysayers away. Find out why they are saying no. Maybe they have in mind better things. They have in mind alternative routes you can take to reach that particular goal as well. All right. Yeah. So yeah, that is it for you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dr.
Thank you
Basuyao.
very much for having me.
And hopefully I'll catch you later. But if you're not subscribed, please do well to subscribe, like
Definitely.
and share, and tell them we are coming. See you.